Is a soldier morally obligated to refute a direct order if he suspects it to be a war crime? The three major ethical theories I'll focus on today are utilitarianism, deontology, and virtue ethics. Unlike the two other theories, utilitarianism has a relatively straightforward answer. The correct action is the one that brings the most amount of utility to the world. John Stuart Mill, the creator of utilitarianism, defines utility as the most amount of happiness and the least amount of suffering. So the soldier in our scenario should simply do what brings the most utility to the world. Now, which action that is really depends on a lot of different factors, such as how many people will be hurt by the war crime and how severely, and just like a lot more. So if it's for the greater good, then he should do it. And if it's not, then he shouldn't. This answer is pretty boring though. So next I'll take a look at Immanuel Kant's ethical theory, deontology. The name deontology comes from the Greek deon, which means duty, and logos, which means the science of. So it's the science of duties. Kant wanted a strict system of rules that would work for everyone in all situations. Now he called this the categorical imperative. About this, he said, act only according to that maxim whereby you can at the same time will that it should become a universal law. Now what I think he means by this is that if you go to the base of the action, such as if you're eating an apple at 4 p.m. on a Saturday, then the maxim would be eating apples. And you must be able to always act such that if everybody did it, it would still be okay. So eating apples at 4 p.m. on a Saturday is fine because the maxim of eating apples is something that could be done by everyone all the time. This is how he grounds that telling a white lie is wrong. As if everyone was lying all the time, then the concept of lying, or the concept of communication itself, would cease to exist, as you could never expect someone to tell the truth if everyone was lying. So how can we apply the categorical imperative to our soldier's case? As we know, good soldiers follow orders. If they didn't, then we wouldn't really have a concept of soldier, as everyone would just do what they felt like. So is the answer within deontology to just be a good soldier and follow your orders? Well, definitely no, as there is another, stronger maxim in the picture. Don't commit war crimes. Since these maxims conflict with each other, we should default to the one that respects human dignity more. Though not following orders as a soldier is bad, bombing a hospital, I hope you agree, is much worse. What then about virtue ethics? Virtue ethics is an ethical system made by Aristotle, which puts virtue in the center, obviously. In the Nicomachean Ethics, he posits that there are some things we do as a means to an end, such as work for money or work out to be healthier, and other things that we do as an end in themselves. Now, this end, he claims, is happiness, as everything we do to be happy. It's important here, though, to differentiate between pleasure and true happiness. Pleasure is the simple kind of joy we get from momentary relief, such as scrolling on TikTok or taking drugs. True happiness, Aristotle claims, comes from virtue. But what is a virtue? A virtue is a habit or character trait that enables a person to act correctly in any given situation. Now, Aristotle claims that every virtue is on a spectrum between two vices, one of the excess of the action and one of the deficiency of the action. Courage, for example, is a virtue. It is so by being in between of the two vices, cowardice and rashness. Temperance by being between insensibility and self-indulgence. Finding this golden mean, as he calls it, is, for Aristotle, the key to eudaimonia. So what then is the virtuous action for a soldier to do? Is it to be loyal and follow his commander's orders, or is it to have the courage to stand up to his commander and tell him no? I would say that the framing of this situation is too vague to give an accurate answer, as virtue ethics is very context dependent. But the obvious answer is to not commit the war crime, as that would definitely be a vice, and also surrendering one's own judgment is also a vice. However, the word that I think changes it is suspects. Really quick, is bombing a hospital a war crime? Yes, of course it is. Another one, are you allowed to torture prisoners? Can you use them as slaves? Are you allowed to fake surrender? If you said yes to any of those, you might have some issues. Point is, war crimes are very easily recognized. Now imagine being a soldier in a war. You should have been briefed on what not to do. And your commander is giving you a direct order, a person that you trust and who likely has more knowledge of the laws. So since our soldier only suspects and doesn't know for certain if it is or isn't a war crime, what would be the virtuous choice? Refuting the order could be considered cowardly, as he's so afraid of doing something wrong that he goes against a direct order. Another vice that could apply here is vanity. Vanity is thinking too highly of oneself and is the excess of pride. I think that the soldier who doesn't even know what is and isn't a war crime would be very vain if he were to consider his knowledge greater than his commander's. So what then is the answer? Is it to follow your orders like a good soldier? Or is it to have the courage enough to stand up against your tyrannical commander? I think that virtue ethics is too vague to give a direct answer because it depends on too many unknown variables. If you disagree with me about anything said in this video, let me know in the comments. And please let me know what you would do if you were the soldier. Like and subscribe.